boys and girls. Originally, I planned to talk about space platforms. But before we get there, I want solid designs from your very first shuttle all the way to the interstellar cruiser you'll be flying at the endgame. So today, we're taking a trip to Gleba. Gleba is the planet where everything is alive, everything is soggy, and everything slowly slides toward maximum entropy. Truly a paradise. And that's the thing about this place. Gleba's entire ecosystem is basically a practical demonstration of the second law of thermodynamics. Everything here tends towards rot, chaos, and decay. Unless you engineer very hard in the opposite direction. Let's start with the locals. 5 legs, territorial behavior, immune to lasers, basically the perfect neighbor, if your idea of neighborly is a creature dedicated to accelerating the chaotic degradation of your factory. Bullets and rockets are your portable tools for clearing space. Tesla turrets are perfect for defending what you have claimed. The bigger shift though is how Gleba's economy works. Everything is biological and everything spoils. Sometimes that's useful, but usually it's a problem. Gleba also gives you factories that run on nutrients instead of electricity, essentially another ingredient you must feed continuously. And because spoilage can happen anywhere, most steps in the chain produce 2 outputs: the product and the spoiled things. In my earlier Gleba bases, this pushed me towards a heavy logistic robot network and a very heavy power bill. This time, the core of the production will be belt-based, with robots only for traditional assembler products and for dealing with imports and exports. I brought along a nuclear power plant, even though you can survive on heating towers and burning your race like a true Glebian engineer. First, we need a good build location. Solid ground plus enough space for large Yumako and jelly nut farms. A perfect spot supports multiple farms. Otherwise, prepare for several separate factories. Now the first real challenge: nutrients. Long term, the best source is bioflux, made from jelly and Yumako mesh. But you need to kickstart the chain, and you'll likely restart it if your base ever stalls. Fortunately, spoilage can be converted into nutrients, half spoiled already, but enough to get things running again. Since spoilage is central to everything here, let's set it up first. I use 2 green belts dedicated to moving spoilage all the way back to the nutrient production. Throughout the factory, belts filter out spoiled items onto these belts. Think of it as the world's saddest recycling program. Leave room for expansion. Gleba spoilage grows faster than my subscriber count. And speaking of that, it's in your hand to help out there if you enjoy this kind of content. At the end of the spoilage belts, the heating towers devour everything. They're your industrial compost heap, trash incinerators with a degree of thermodynamics. Before that point, I'll split off some spoilage for recipes that need it, and I convert a small portion into carbon up to a defined limit. The first major step on the main line is nutrient production, first from spoilage and later mostly from bioflux. Anything that can spoil rides on green belts, using both sides for throughput. Once stack-in servers are unlocked, handling improves dramatically. Whenever a side belt reconnects, I filter out spoilage again. Next, we produce Yumako mesh and jelly. Mesh spoils faster, so it goes first, just like bananas in your kitchen. Each has one belt going back towards bioflux and another moving forward into the main line. Then come the bacteria for copper and iron. Their order depends on demand. After that we produce plastic, rocket fuel, sulfur, lubricant, carbon fiber and stack inserters. These must be unlocked first, but the layout can be planned ahead. Each line ends with another spoilage filter. The copper and iron bacteria setups include breeder loops that feed themselves using ore taken off the belts. Bacteria breeders are wonderfully self-sufficient, if only the rest of the factory behaved. I also use chest buffer so the bacteria can spoil in peace when the belts backs up. But the real prize on Gleba is the agricultural science packs. These require bioflux and Pentapod eggs. If you let eggs build up, they can spoil or hatch. Not as ideal. Tesla turrets for when the eggs become mobile. The correct ratio is 5 egg chambers to 2 science chambers. Any more and you're running a daycare instead of a science line. You will also need a loop to send extra eggs back to the breeder, and you may want one more breeder with limited output since eggs are used in several recipes. By now you're surely wondering about ratios. In a normal factory you would look only at the output and calculate how much throughput you need for that single item. But here on Gleba you have to consider the entire production line as one connected system. My factories are usually limited by the farms, which is actually a good thing. It means you're consuming materials before they decay instead of letting them rot on the belt. So here's a calculation that covers almost everything running on the bus, including what we need for the rocket. Keep in mind that various production bonuses also come into play, and I'm ignoring those here. That means the real factory will consume less than those numbers suggest, leaving extra capacity for things like carbon fiber and stack inserters. Everything else is more familiar: smelters, a mall and rocket components. Just be careful with exports. Anything that spoils must not sit around waiting for a rocket. Guard your perimeter with Tesla turrets. Keep a robo network for repairs, and if your pipeline stays stable, you might not need to return to the swamp. Unless something breaks. Congratulations! You now know how to survive Gleba without drowning in slime. Probably. Next time, spaceships, because after Gleba literally any planet feels clean.